Fuck, I forget what Doug Walker says in his intro. I forget. I did it 3 times on this show. No.
I don't know whether to help you or not.
No. Come on, we're not gonna move past it. Oh, I review so you don't have
Are
to.
you having a fucking aneurysm?
I'm trying to remember.
It's hi, I'm the nostalgia critic. I remember it so you don't have to.
Well,
That's what
well,
it
there
is.
you go. He
What do you
remembers
mean?
it. He remembers it, so I don't have to. You know, it was on brand.
Oh, we're
Oh
off to a
no.
fucking staggering start. Amazing. Brilliant. I can't picture how this is gonna go wrong at all.
Okay. Welcome back to Internet Explorers. I'm Diesel, and along with me, as always, is the illustrious Beckett, who remembers
Illustrious.
things so I don't have to.
How you doing, bro?
You know, I feel like getting into that guy with the glasses universe of internet people was a long time coming because we keep mentioning and making jokes about it. Or at least I do.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a solid. It's like it's one of those weird foundations, actually. In some ways, it's the first sort of it's the first real commentary on anything on the internet that was like mainstream, if you like. So a little bit of history about this. These kind of reviews predominantly seem to begin with like the angry video game nerd. At least were popularized there. And then you had people like Spoonie, who was like reviewing everything from like D&D games to like random stuff. And then we came to Doug Walker and the creation of That Guy with Glasses group, and then it became like the explosive world. The oh god,
It became Doug Walker in a multiverse of madness, yes.
yeah, it was just god. It was such a weird time on the internet, bro. It was so weird.
It's really hilarious. You know, I was talking about it with my brother. I'm like, do you know who Angry Video Game Nerd is? You know who Nostalgia Critic is? He's like, I really don't know who those people are. And then I thought about it, and like this is like, you know, like very early 2000s, okay?
Yeah.
2006, right? So this took place like before my brother was born. And I had to tell him, I'm like, this is before you were born. And I like instantly I was just like, oh man, I'm old. Like this is old internet. I mean, this is probably actually this might be the farthest we've gone back in terms of like internet history so far. I don't think we've gone this far. But this is
Yeah,
like
no,
pre
I think it might
YouTube.
be.
Yeah. Like people used to
Yeah,
have their own websites where they'd host this shit.
yeah. Well, it's interesting. Do you know one of the reasons that like that guy with the glasses website came around?
No, no.
It was to do with getting copyright struck off YouTube.
Really? Wow, that
Yeah.
early in the game too.
Yeah, because they were uploading like lots of clips of movies. This is like before kind of the arguments for fair use came around, and companies would just strike you. They'd just be like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're putting our shit online. Fuck off."
Well,
So
Doug Walker, I know he was very formative for the arguments for fair use, like way back in the day. Like a lot of people have him to credit for a lot of those arguments being made.
yeah, yeah, it's it's an interesting one as well because like people know who watch me that I'm obsessed with a guy called the Angry Video Game Nerd. Not Angry Video Game Nerd. Fuck. Yeah, well, I wasn't kidding when I said this episode was going to be in a weird fucking place. Game Dude. There we go.
Game
Fuck.
dude, who's that?
Game Dude. Game Dude was inspired by Angry Video Game Nerd. He was a Canadian game reviewer. He was awful, actually, really bad. But he went insane and basically started stalking his ex-girlfriend and had to flee the country to avoid arrest. But the way he explained this was across 3 different videos, each one more unhinged than the last. And I say that, and the first video is him in a public park using toy dinosaurs to explain the entire drama.
Oh yeah, we had a
Um,
conversation about this one time.
yeah, yeah, he was part of this world. He he wrote fan letters to the angry video game nerd who found him like kind of creepy and weird.
The fan letters were like that cut out newspaper, like serial killer letters.
Oh, the dude was like one step away from wearing this guy's skin, like legitimately. And you had so many like insane people during this time,
Well,
who were just a bit weird.
this is interesting because like all this stuff has led to like this is a genre on YouTube, and I mean I guess Scott the Woz is probably the Zoomer example of that now, where he's doing the same thing that guys like Angry Video Game Nerd are doing, and Linkara himself was part of this first wave. It's weird when I was like watching the things you sent and just like watching and learning about Linkara. It's kind of like he's like a nerd phenotype that doesn't exist anymore.
So Linkara is interesting. I think Medica puts it really well in that when you look at creators like Doug Walker, they're people who were always critics and then never quite grasped what it was like to create properly, as in like independent media, like things like Demo Reel, which was Doug's project after the Nostalgia Critic that didn't go well, and then he gave up on it. Or you look at the Nostalgia Critic movies, but Linkara is like the reverse of that because he was a creator first, and we'll get into his web comic. Sideline, and there's going to be a lot of these, but actually, are you? I can't believe I'm saying this. Are you old enough to remember what webcomics were like?
I do remember what webcomics were like, but I experienced them after their heyday, right? Like
Right.
I know
Okay.
about Control Alt Delete. I know about Xseed something, the one with the stick.
XKCD.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the stick figures.
XKCD. So there was um Control Delete, XKCD. Oh fuck.
Strong
VG
Bat. The
Cats.
Strong Bad was a
Yeah.
character in a webcomic, right?
Yeah, there's loads of like random ones as well, like Least I Could Do, which the creator of that had another web comic that was like kind of like a World of Warcraft D&D kind of thing.
Homestuck.
Um
I know what
Homestuck,
Homestuck
yeah.
is. Yeah.
I mean it was just there were so many of these fucking things. And again, I think H-Bomb talks about this pretty well in his video on the kind of web comic within XKCD, sorry, within Control Alt Delete of Loss, which is like now a prime internet meme. And I remember when Loss was released, as weird as that sounds. I remember when Control Alt Delete sort of ended its main arc as well. And, it's fucking, it was weird, man. It was a weird time. I remember being at kind of like, I guess for me it's sixth form, but like sort of like 16, and these comics coming out. It's bizarre,
You know,
absolutely fucking bizarre.
it's really funny because you don't really realize like the internet used to not be this homogenous entity where we all existed on four sites, right? There are all these little different communities and different websites, and then they all kind of consolidated onto places like YouTube and became like celebrities, right? So there's the people like Game Grumps who came from Newgrounds, right? Ego Raptor came from Newgrounds. He was originally a Newgrounds creator. He would even interact, right? Friend of the show, Kat, had a comment from Ego Raptor on her Newgrounds account when she was a teenager. And then, you have other people who hung out on places like Something Awful, which is another internet forum. I think Total Biscuit, Zoe Quinn, a lot of critics, a lot of like opinionated creators came from Something Awful. Plenty of people also came from 4chan. And, that guy with the glasses was another one of those websites. These guys all had their original like web hosting that they would do on their own pre-YouTube. And then they would end up migrating here as it became more feasible to do that. And it's just a time on the internet that's completely gone now. Like that doesn't exist. And if it does, it's really niche, it's really weird. It's like for 10 people and nobody else, and you don't know about it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first image board I was ever on was a comics, well, funnily enough, a comics image board for like Marvel Comics. and there were 5 of us, I think, regular users. I was like 13, like 12 or 13. I was like just proper kid. And we just talk about comics. We talk about like the characters, the stories, and stuff that was developing in this like tiny little fucking community. And like now we look at things like Discord and we go, well, you meet up and chat to people on Discord. But even then you had like things like Skype, TeamSpeak. God, there was another one that was like even more niche, like server based that you had to like buy your server and that a lot of early MMOs used. So yeah, it was a bizarre time, and everything's easier now, and we're still crap with technology. Still terrible at all of
I
it.
it's like this is a little bit before my adoption to the internet, but I kind of feel like this weird longing because there's a lot of amazing creativity that I feel is just not around anymore. Like I mentioned Strong Bad because that's the character I remember. Homestar Runner, that was the comic, right? And I just wish I experienced that. Like that makes it sound like this shit is so old, but it really isn't. But it's just
I
like
mean,
to miss that
it
seems
it
crazy.
is. It is kind of like 20 years ago now. It it is actually quite a while, and like I agree with you. Like there was a lot of creativity back in the day. I remember I'd wake up in the morning, and God, I'm such a fucking nerd. And I was doing this while I was like, I'd wake up, be a nerd in the morning, and then go out drinking in a field in the afternoon, kind of shit. My fucking teenagers, so weird. But you'd wake up in the morning and you check like your regular webcomics because there'd be daily webcomics. It kind of like getting what was like newspapers and things. Like they'd have like, oh, we're daily updating these, and then you'd have the ones that update like weekly on each day or like a couple of times a week, and you'd kind of just have like the release schedule of all these things. Read through them, get up, go check on whatever the fuck you were doing, and then get on with your day. It's almost like a more complicated scroll through Twitter. And I look at webcomics now on Twitter, and there's actually a couple I still I read now. One in particular by a far right creator because it's fascinating to watch his descent into madness. He's like
That's a really great one. We need to have an aside about that at some
yeah,
point.
yeah. He's so God, I can't even pronounce his name, but he's fascinating because he's gone from woke people are evil and destroying everything to the government supporting Israel and Israel's destroying everything. And oh look, they're bullying the poor woke kids. I'm just like so fucking weird.
It's insane. There's like plot points about mass circumcision and shit. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Interestingly, like some things are really consistent. Like if you read old webcomics, what you'll see is like they'll get successful, quite a lot of them, and one of two things will happen: either the creator will break from the pressure, and then stop writing them, or they'll go completely insane. And like I've seen webcomic. I mean, Lost is a great example of this, right? Control Delete is a webcomic that began with like fucking random jokes in it, like about gaming, and then has a miscarriage storyline in it for some fucking reason. Like it's bizarre.
Well, from
And
what
now,
I remember, that became increasingly autobiographical, and it was
yeah,
like a real experience.
yeah, it was, yeah, again, proper descent into madness. But I see this on Twitter now. There are a couple of like like Twitter webcomics that have failed as the writers have just gone more and more crazy and off the wall. Into storylines that kind of make sense in their head, but are completely impossible to follow until the webcomic dies. So, I mean, really, like the spirit's still alive of amateur work. It's just through a different medium now.
And Linkara is the amateur work. You know, these kind of creators, I don't know, maybe AVGN or like Scott the Woz are exceptions. But I that point you mentioned from Medicare about they didn't know what it was like to create. So I have maybe this is a strong opinion. Maybe this isn't nice to say, but I think when you're telling like a fictional narrative and you like just use a pre-existing like fictional character, I mean it is lazy, right? But moreover than that, I think you're just trying to like, you're like, I don't really know what to do. Let me just kind of ape Star Trek, and now Starfleet is in my plot, which happened with Linkara. Linkara also repeatedly has interactions with Pyramid Head, um, of like a schlumpy potato bag Pyramid Head. Who else is in there?
Oh, the skits. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
the
lot.
ongoing storylines behind all these
They're
fucking
completely
villains.
nonsensical, these storylines, and I really, really, really tried to accept them and like take them in with some sincerity, and I really couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's I will say this. There's something we're gonna look at, which is possibly the best thing Linkara's ever made. It's still crap, by the way. But it is up there with actually something like that's a decent project, which I was surprised by the end. He just Linkara fucks everything up in the same way. It's kind of startling. Linkara has a massive ego on him, possibly I think bigger than any of the other creators from kind of that guy with the glasses, bigger than Doug's, and it bleeds through into everything he does with this like desperation to be taken seriously, and it just kills his projects. It makes them overly edgy or overly wordy or fucking dumb.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's definitely an air of like, the guy's an opinionated guy. He's a very political guy. He's very much always been that. I get that because I read Lightbringer,
did
which
you
we'll
read
get to.
all of Lightbringer?
So I read the first plot. So issue 1 through like something, right? And I feel like we even haven't explained who Linkara is, but he's just a comic book reviewer. That is who Linkara is at the basis form. He is a comic book reviewer that wears a Trilby hat and he is the archetypical early 2000s nerd stereotype character personified into a real life human. That is
Yeah.
who he is. And he had a webcomic called Lightbringer, which he wrote when he was, I think, in his 20s. It's hard to say. He's looking. He has like a very. I don't know how old he is. It's kind of hard to pin him down, but he was definitely not a child when he wrote this. But the art is reminiscent of a famous lol cow, Christine Weston Chandler, and Lightbringer is a story about a guy who is a Gary Stew that gets the power of light. And I know that Linkara, I'm fairly certain, isn't religious because he's like super woke, but it like comes off as like a weird Jesus allegory. And we don't make it but 2 pages into this comic without having the words rape in Comic Sans.
Yeah, I think the villains are the slavers, the slaver gang or something like
Yes.
that, who just kidnap women and sell them on a sex market.
So there are roving rape gangs in a city called Pharos. The gang in question is ran by a guy called Serpent, who I think the main guy's name is Grant or something. I keep just wanting to say Lightbringer. But Grant is working in a furniture store, and Serpent comes in with a manic pixie dream girl on a dog leash. And the narration from the Lightbringer is explaining how probably this girl that's with Serpent has been raped and molested. And also, she's much older than Serpent usually prefers. So now we're 3 pages in, and child rape pedophiles are now the other bad guy.
It is kind of interesting to imagine how Linkara sees the world. I mean, he is he is very, very sensitive. I think that's an important thing going forward. Linkara So I did a stream a little while ago with someone called Charza and someone called Evan. And Charles is quite interesting because he's been around for ages. Um, and Linkara hates him, as in he is like mentioning his name is banned in Linkara's Discord. Along with a whole host of other shit that Linkara has banned. So Linkara has constructed for himself one of the tightest hug boxes I actually have ever seen. And what's interesting when you consider Linkara's personality through kind of like his internet history is it is so obvious that that would be the outcome of all of this. It's kind of amazing. I would have, again, there's a lot of that guy with the glasses drama that I don't know if people are aware of. So there was a creator called Wario, who died. Everyone was very sad, and then later on, I think a year or two later, it came out that he was apparently a rapist. And I would love to have seen Linkara's reaction to this. As as that sounds, because I mean, this is a guy Linkara worked with, and he spends all his time talking about, there's stories from the sets of these things that Linkara was just basically an insufferable feminist who'd try and argue with people like Brad Jones, the cinema snob, about kind of treating female co-workers with equality, which is very funny also because of all the other things that came out from that guy with the glasses, because there's quite a lot of accusations of misogyny, sexism, a whole host of other things to come out of this community. I can't speak to their validity in a lot of the cases. I think the main thing we have really is that workers for that guy with the glasses seem not to have been treated particularly well. But then we really only have the creator's words to go by from this, and they were, fired. But rolling back to Linkara, I guess the main question is, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Lightbringer? Do you want to start with Atop the Fourth Wall? Or
maybe since I literally Lightbringer is fresh in my memory, so let's start with Lightbringer.
Okay, let's start with Lightbringer.
Plus, I think a lot of people will know of Linkara Lightbringer because of Oni Plays, which is part of I'd say is part of the Lightbringer saga of Linkara.
God, isn't that weird though? Like the fact that now I think more people will be familiar with Linkara from a shit webcomic he tried to bury than from Atop the Fourth Wall.
That has to be brutal. Like your worst work, which he doesn't like Lightbringer now. He admits it's bad. But that being the representation of your life's work must be brutal.
Okay, yeah, that's actually pretty sad. I'd feel sorry for him, but Linkara is again an insufferable asshole, so I kind of don't get him.
So, like, it's the roving rape gangs, right? The main character is like a Gary Stu, who, by the way, like even on like the most recent update, we get like a pretty dyed hair manic pixie dream girl type character, and I find that so funny that all the way from the first issue to the current last issue is that stereotype of a character, which I'm going to guess might have to do with a little bit of Linkara's proclivities, but I'm certain we'll get to that. Writers can't help themselves sometimes and input their fetishes secretly into things.
Secretly, in the case of Linkara, is in deep quote marks, because it's not very secret. Have you come across Linkara in the Lightbringer comic?
No. So he is in his own comic?
He is. Linkara, the name Linkara is his name for himself, and yes, Linkara appears in Lightbringer as a godly figure.
Oh no.
Like proper full on, like when the Lightbringer just can't handle what's happening, that's the point when Linkara enters the story to save the day.
That's beautiful. I love that. I will read the rest of this comic because I haven't finished. But another point is the author's notes in this. And this is where I like really understood who Linkara was as a person. You got to remember, guys, this is 2006. Okay? The Iraq War. The Iraq War is going on. And Linkara must have had a debate with his mother, who is in his videos, by the way. Linkara apparently had a debate with his mother over the use of pacifism. And this stuck with him really strongly. And it was the basis for the Lightbringer's origin story. And he mentions how pacifism is great, but you need to be able to be violent to stop true evil. And he uses Saddam Hussein as an example of that, which I thought was really funny because it was just like, oh, nobody remembers Saddam Hussein now. But it was such a present thing at the time that it's not it's just it shows like he was like affected by the world around him at the time. It puts it in context.
I'm very depressed by the statement nobody remembers Saddam Hussein now. Out of interest, does Lightbringer have hover over text?
I don't think so. No.
Like if you just hold the mouse over the comic itself.
Okay. No. It does
God,
not.
that used to be a thing. If you wanted the secret information, you know, hold the mouse over and then it'd be there. God.
But yeah, if you're watching this on video and you're not just listening to this, I'm showing some of the Lightbringer art right now. I'm going to the page where Serpent is holding the girl on a leash. Okay, art aside, I have criticisms. Yeah. Anyway, this is some of the most expository like comic book writing ever.
Oh yeah, it's like a leftist meme. God, the dialogue. Hope business treats you well, Granholm. After all, you've got to pay me back by Friday.
Yeah, that was like really like the wordiest way to write that too. You know, like no guy called Serpent who's like the leader of a rape gang is gonna talk like that, right? Like he's gonna conjugate his words and make them shorter, right? He should be like, hope business is treating you well. Like you, there's no reason for him to say Granholm after all. Like there's a bunch of extra words just in the dialogue that doesn't need to be there, right? And I get it. He wrote this when he was young, but he also has his book that he wrote when he was 14 in here.
Wait, he wrote a book? I didn't know he wrote a book.
He wrote 3.
He wrote 3 books?
He wrote 3 books, and it takes place in the land of sin.
Have I just repressed Linkara lore? I think I might just repressed Linkara lore. Holy shit.
Yeah, you can buy these books. I don't know if it's like it comes directly from him or what. Otherwise, it wouldn't show up ever. But it's definitely there because now I can't find it. I swear it was there. I swear. Here it is. There's a store link. So you could buy a Lightbringer t-shirt, by the way. But there's a book series called Angel Armor. And he apparently wrote it when he was 14. And he says, note, it's best to think of this book as a pilot for a TV show. Since I was 14 when I wrote it.
It's always a fucking pilot for a TV show. Fucking Danny the Panda. Christ.
Is there anything else I've forgotten with Lightbringer?
Only that Linkara realized that I believe it's something awful started looking into the comic. And he wrote like a blurb about it. I think Metica talks about it. So he was aware that this was getting attention. And do you know what? Seemed to deal with it okay, actually. Like, he didn't, like, take his comic down. He didn't burn everything to the ground. Didn't disappear from the internet, though maybe for all of us that would have been better had that been the case.
Yeah, it would have been better if bad comics were to burn, you know?
Well, I mean, that's the irony of Atop the Fourth Wall. Let's talk about Atop the Fourth Wall, shall we? The possibly one of the worst comic writers ever on the internet, and I do mean that. Like, there are some shit comics out there, but Lightbringer is definitely one of them. Basically became famous, internet famous, early internet famous for reviewing comics, which is crazy.
I mean, at the time, that was like novel. That was different compared to what everybody else was doing. I mean, video games were a common thing to review, but the comic genre on YouTube just didn't exist at the time, or like even pre-YouTube. That just wasn't there. Period.
No, I think he is. I think he is legitimately a trailblazer. And of course, I mean, I can see the history of Power Rangers. So let's talk about Atop the Fourth Wall. Atop the Fourth Wall was a show basically for that guy with the glasses. Doug Walker did essentially. I can't remember whether it was an open casting call or Linkara just applied. He did a couple of written reviews of comics first, and then basically did a video format. Doug liked this. They brought them on to work with them. And he's sort of like one of the mainstays. I'd say that he's one of the 3 to 5, depending on how you want to look at it, main cast of that guy with the glasses. So it was Linkara, Doug Walker, Spoonie, and arguably Angry Joe, and then later Lindsay Ellis. You also had other people like Film Brain. All these people had little catchphrases. All of them did skits. All of it was fucking crazy. I'm pretty sure Film Brain like cursed himself because his head started growing through his hair. He's one of these people that went bald in that way. That's like, oh, you look like a comic villain. Congratulations.
Looking like Yakub.
I mean, like, Film Brain went from looking like this sort of like fresh-eyed teenager to legitimately horrifying. Oh god. But so aside from reviewing comics, and we'll probably look at some of the comic reviews in a second, I think a good place to start, because it shows Linkara's personality, is History of Power Rangers. So the History of Power Rangers was massively successful as a show. It got a lot of attention. There were a lot of people who watched it as kids. So watching, like, from the perspective of reviewing the original series, but also kind of like seeing what was happening with the current series, really interested people. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Power Rangers does actually have a sort of adult fan base. I don't know why, but it does. And he started reviewing these. Now, during this process, because his review release schedule for this wasn't great, he got very angry and basically created a video going.
Pasta, really.
Well, yeah. So it's probably just worth watching his the no set schedules video.
Of course.
So yeah, it's been a while since the last History of Power Rangers. As such, I need to address a couple of things that have cropped up. Yes, I'm aware of the David Yost interview. Yes, I'm aware Power Rangers Samurai is coming to Nickelodeon in 2011. Yes, I will continue to do History of Power Rangers through that series once it concludes. Now, many of you have been very patient in waiting for these videos, and for that I'm very grateful. Others of you have not been so patient, to the point where I'm actually taking time out of this review to talk about it. Let me say this once again, since apparently it was not made clear when this video series began. History of Power Rangers has no set schedule. The videos are done when they're done, and will be released when they're done. In case you haven't noticed, I've been more than a little busy the last few months. If you haven't noticed, wake up already! I attended Power Morphicon, FallCon, did a very complicated ending to an episode of Atop the Fourth Wall, released additional videos in October beyond my regular workload, did my regular workload, which consists of an episode...
Okay, pause here. So this is obviously unhinged as fuck. Like, this is just crazy. Now, somebody who's still making content on YouTube, by the way, occasionally, did something called History of Voltage Vengers. And it is perfect.
So and another piece of internet lore. You know, those are the Mega 64 guys in the Voltage Vengers video, right?
Oh, he didn't actually.
Yeah, it's Rocco. He's like one of the leads. Nice guys. I've bought merch from them at PAX before.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, no, this is perfect. I'm so impressed by this.
Welcome to the History of Voltage Vengers, my documentary series on the history of this beloved classic children's series that grown men love to this day. Before I begin, I must address a few things. First, yes, it's been a while since the last installment. Yes, I'm aware of Voltage Vengers Blue Ball Beyond coming in 2014, and will cover that series when it concludes. Now, many of you have been very patient with the making of these videos, and for that, I'm very grateful. Others of you have not been so patient. Let me say this once again. History of Voltage Vengers has no set schedule. The videos will be done when they're done. In the rare case you haven't been keeping up with my schedule, I've been more than a little busy the past year. Wake up already. I attended...
When he says "wake up already," I died the first time watching this.
It's just an incredible piece of art, frankly. But I think it also goes to show that even back in the day, Linkara was a fucking meme. Like, and no one took this guy, like, personality-wise seriously. And God, there's another famous Linkara video where basically he sits down and talks about ad blockers and like how you need to turn them off while watching his video so he can make money.
And to this day, he is mocked for that. To this day, it's over a decade old, that video.
Turn off that pesky ad block. Oh God,
So this is a little bit of an aside. Linkara reminds me of that. I forget who it is, but it's like a blue bear with a fedora, right?
That is is that Andrew Dobson?
Is it? It sounds like it's Andrew Dobson, the one who like wrote the comic, who wrote a webcomic, by the way. Yeah. Where he was like watching a woman. So in reality, Andrew, assuming this is Andrew, allegedly, assuming this is Andrew, was watching a woman dressed as Supergirl get pictures taken of her by her boyfriend. Yeah. He interpreted it as some creeper taking nasty shots of this woman cosplaying as Supergirl. And in the comic, this bear with a fedora gets up from his table and goes to beat the shit out of this guy who's, taking advantage of this pretty lady. And Linkara kind of has a similar like vibe to that, you know what I mean? Where he's like a very milady, please fuck me, I'm a feminist kind of guy.
Yeah, and I mean, again, all these nerds back in the day were fucking ridiculous human beings. Do you know Ken Ashcourt wrote a song about Andrew Dobson? It's only like 30 seconds long. But Dobson got caught up in a tracing scandal where he was selling like artwork where he traced Big Ben. And people were like, what the fuck are you doing? You're meant to be an artist. And he was like massively arrogant, but this is just I fucking love Ken Ashcourt for this.
Andrew Dobson, professional artist, traces pictures of Big Ben, goes to sell them at conventions. 5 minutes in Photoshop, I hope you die on your way to MCM.
Ken Ashcorp is one. Honestly, we could honestly probably get him as a guest.
Yeah, Ken Ashcorp's lovely. Like a complete degen, but like lovely. And got actually a really interesting history. we'll talk about that at some point. But he's very connected to a lot of interesting people. He's done some fascinating shit online.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, just listen. You brought up Dobson, and every time anyone brings up Dobson, I have to have that song played. It's my life. It's my life's mission now. So yeah, okay. So that sort of like sums up Linkara's personality pretty well. Do you want to watch quickly a bit of an episode of Atop the Fourth Wall?
Sure, because I got like I watched some guy did like an hour-long meta synopsis of the entire fictional plot of Linkara's Atop the Fourth Wall series. This guy watched all the videos and put them in a like cohesive plot of everything Linkara has done. Which, by the way, while we're here, why do I remember Spoonie like falling apart? Did he go crazy or do drugs or something?
Yeah. So basically, oh fuck. Okay, so this is like a bit of a mix, but some stuff happened with Spoonie's brother. But the main thing that seemed to happen with Spoonie is incredibly fucking lazy. And eventually, Spoonie got funding to make a movie. And then didn't really do anything. He sort of used that as an excuse to basically stop making content. His output massively fell. But around this time as well, he was removed from that guy with the glasses. Now, there is a lot of drama behind the scenes as to why this happened. But the TLDR of it is, Spoonie made a tweet which was towards, fucking one of the other, that guy with the glasses, I think it was Jess Taco or something like that, where it said, "Don't worry, I'd chain you to my radiator," or something like that. And Obscurus Looper, along with Spoonie's ex-girlfriend, basically started a Twitter campaign to get Spoonie cancelled. And this worked. It went really fucking badly. Spoonie did not cope well with this on Twitter and was removed from that guy with the glasses. There's actually a really interesting episode where they used to do these like reviews between Spoonie, Doug, and Linkara. Interestingly, not really involving Brad Jones, who was the other sort of like fifth pillar of that guy with the glasses. And basically, Spoonie got kicked off. A year later, they did a review, and they did this whole joke thing that, oh well, we need to address what happened when you weren't here and why, and like what happened between this and the last review, and then made a joke about the fact he was wearing a Harvard jumper, having never got, or a Yale jumper, when never gone to those never having gone to those universities. But yeah, Spoonie kind of descended into insanity. He started tweeting as his dog. If you look at Spoonie's like Twitter now, it's pretty insane. Also, he's a massive hypochondriac. He's like constantly talking about how he's gonna die soon and how his health's terrible and he's manically depressed. Yeah, Spoonie went completely fucking insane. We need to do a Spoonie episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say Spoonie was a frequent character on Atop the Fourth Wall, as I think he was Dr. Insano?
Dr. Insano.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Dr. Insano gets killed off by Squall of Final Fantasy VIII. Just Squall.
I fucking hate this timeline.
Shit.
God.
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. I've already gone over how Marvel has been willing to slap their name on any toy merchandising license they can get their hands on, but did you know that they produced a comic in collaboration with the NFL? Yes, the Marvel machine was working overtime with this one. Reportedly, the writer, Fabian Nicieza, only did the book because he got free NFL tickets for it. He also still gets a lot of flack for doing it. However, dumb as this book is, I'm not going to insult him or the people involved with this one. This book was doomed from the start, even if Alan Moore or Neil Gaiman had been writing it.
You can see what the basic format is. Making a lot of jokes. Same thing as Doug Walker. Being kind of like aggressive with the language. That's pretty much it. That's the stick. Now, if we go to more modern Atop the Fourth Wall, See, you can see this. It's got like an old school charm to it. Which I
Yeah,
kinda
yeah.
like.
You know, it's like he filmed that on VHS type thing. You know,
Yeah.
is he even doing Atop the Fourth Wall anymore? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. You might have to scroll down a
He's
little
just doing random crap. Like, he's still. It's a year ago. He's still doing the history of Power Rangers.
bit. Listen, it's probably a series. It's got 210,000
Yeah,
views.
that did pretty well, honestly. Like, shit. All right. I mean, this is a year ago, right? This is a modern Atop the Fourth Wall, right?
Yeah.
So.
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Patreon
It looks
sponsored
like
review
it's
time
melting.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's put on a couple pounds. Oh shit.
Oh god.
I think the get up needs to go. Like, it's been too long. Like, you look like you're gonna be selling me like watches at the corner. You know, like this time has passed on the internet. It's just like
Oh,
an
God.
unwillingness to change with the times. That's like really funny about it, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a bizarre one. But yeah, keep going.
and we have an interesting one. We're basically going back to a previous review I've done to fill in some gaps. Secret Origins Month is about showing off the first appearances of superheroes, to see what it was that got these characters to endure for so long. Not necessarily their origin story, but the first time anyone laid eyes on them. But back in the Gold and Silver Ages, most of the time the books they premiered in were anthologies. Superheroes made up only one part of what was inside them, and that was certainly the case for Action Comics #1, Superman's first appearance. No one really gives a rat's ass about anyone else who was in the book, it's all about Superman. And that was the attitude I had when I reviewed it. We were there to look at Superman and nothing else. However, the patron for today said they actually expected me to go back and look at this stuff at some point, so here we are. And since it'll be the second year in a row without a Secret Origins Month, sorry, this November belongs to Doctor Who's 60th anniversary, we should get some Golden Age.
So I like the resignation that he's sort of just like, someone asked me to do this, so I'd literally rather be doing anything else possible. But sure, I'll read an old comic again. Yay.
This is I'm sorry. Okay, so because I run a coffee company, right? I go to a lot of conventions. I need to. I'm working there, but there is like I cannot like begin to fathom how weird it is. Like, there again, he is like this type of guy that exists that like is like a dying breed, right? Because comics are like made up of all these like young people who think like Tom Holland is Spider-Man and like all this shit's like hot and new, right? These are the guys who sell you those like 25-cent comic books at conventions, and they're like really big, and they're like, I like Doctor Who, I like Star Trek. I know you like those things, Beckett. I'm sorry.
Look, I like Star Trek. They destroyed Doctor Who. Also, I'm glad you said people think that Tom Holland is Spider-Man, because after all the years of pushing for Miles Morales to be Spider-Man, you know, the less white one of us is the one saying Tom Holland is Spider-Man. I feel like white people have won. I'm very happy to hear that. And people say we don't have culture. Jesus Christ. I want to say, actually, unironically, I quite like Miles Morales as a character. Please don't cancel me for something that I actually don't believe. Hate me, but hate me honestly, okay?
See, I was making a joke about you liking old fart nerd stuff, but then, you know, here you are making it worse for yourself.
Look, I embrace my nerdom. I embrace it. The difference is, I have only ever owned a fedora once, and it's before they were corrupted by neckbeards. So, because I'm old enough for that. If you bought a fedora, you'd be fucked right from the off. You're not old enough. But
don't worry, I did own a fedora. I was part of the problem.
But
it's like, you know how, okay, you know Red Letter Media, right?
Yeah.
Where Rich Evans is like the good ending for somebody like Linkara. Linkara got like the bad ending.
I don't know if there was a good ending for Linkara. Honestly, I think this was about as good as it gets. Because, well, let's talk about Linkara's early internet history before we get to any of the later stuff. Now, I sent you a clip from the Metica video.
Yes.
Or a section. Linkara, for all his wokeness, for all his caring about women's issues and LGBT stuff, I would like to posit that there's something deeper here in Linkara. A longing, a fetish, perhaps, which got unearthed, actually. Got it. All these people, when they get funding for a movie, it all goes terribly wrong. So Linkara made a movie. It was fine. It has a better rating than Catwoman. Which is quite funny.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah. But he released it on time, it was all fine. And then, well, let's just have Jim explain.
Discussing television and films, and occasionally they'll delve into online content and the creators behind it. One evening a while back, and it was no different really than any other evening, they happened to be discussing a Indiegogo campaign and its successful funding for a movie that an online content creator was going to be making. That content creator was Linkara. The discussion itself was fairly on point, talking about what they thought the film was going to be when it was finished, how much money was going to be dedicated towards it, how good that final product, that end product, was actually going to be. That is, until one person happened to post this. I remember years ago, I found a video on YouTube of Linkara before he became Linkara. It was uploaded in 2005 or 2006. He was as skinny as a rail and his brother was in it. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I lost the link to the video a long time ago and haven't been able to find it since. A short while later, a response is posted. And from that response, the hunt was on, so to speak. Try to find the video through Google. Find out that Linkara posted in a shemale porn forum back in 2005. Holy shit, Linkara had a thing for women with dicks long before he dated Iron Liz. Once that information was out there, thread after thread after thread was created, all with the purpose of discussing what they could find. And what they uncovered were a multitude of accounts on numerous sites, all linked back to his Lightbringer comic, or information posted in relation to that. One such account was this. We're looking at a screen cap of the favorites that were listed in the account profile.
No, they were manic pixie dream girls. They were manic pixie dick girls. Food of the heart longs for Linkara.
Do you know, so this is including the fact, by the way, that IRL people who knew Linkara came to the internet to call him creepy.
I think Jim is gonna read some of these titles, but I'm gonna read some of them. We have Transsexual Brothel that has a follow-up that says lots of girls with cocks. Hermaphrodite, a surprise awaits a barred patron. Oliver's Balls. Good one. Your package has arrived. Chapter 2. Wonder what's in the package. Mama's Cock. Aliens use sex to invade humans. Yeah, those are some good ones right there. Those are some good ones. I think that gives you kind of a taste of what Linkara was exploring in the days of yore.
Yeah. So Linkara didn't just have an interest in viewing this stuff, to be clear. Linkara role-played this stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Linkara was one of those teenagers who, after a long day at school, at college, university, whatever age he was, he'd get home, he'd turn on his computer, and then he'd go to one of these websites and he'd type in, "I'm just an explorer, looking to be taught a lesson." and then he'd go and sit in a room like one of these like chat channels quietly waiting for somebody to come in and be like, I'm a hermaphrodite and I'll fuck you in the ass. That kind of shit. That's who Linkara was. That's who Linkara's always been. So this whole thing of like, Linkara is just another weird degenerate, which is fine. I'm not here to judge well, I am here to judge people. It's literally my job on the internet. But like, it would be fine if Linkara wasn't such an insufferable asshole about any kind of sex stuff ever. Because whenever anybody like fetishizes anything, whenever anyone's being problematic, Linkara is there to jump on them. But he's been into all this shit all the way through.
Yeah, it's like he's projecting. There were some 4chan posts that were like archived on Know Your Meme about Linkara and what he would do. And it was this story about how an alleged employee was talking with a female employee, and they were homies. And he was explaining how he liked the chick. And Linkara overheard the conversation and inserted himself into it, and then kept like begging the guy to be like, "Oh, who's the girl you like? Who's the girl you like?" To which the guy finally caved and was like, "I like this employee." And somehow Doug Walker found out and sent the guy a fucking letter and was like, "Yes, you can pursue romantic interest into office," which did not end well in hindsight when you think about it. But but Linkara was like chastising because he's like, you're kind of objectifying her. Maybe we need some more HR placement saying that you can't do this, that you can't objectify
Well,
women.
to be fair, he wasn't wrong, and that guy with the glasses definitely did more HR placement.
They did, but well, it's not like Linkara stopped any of that. I like how we're beating around the bush so we could save that for another episode. It got bad.
It got so bad. Okay, so I think the last part is looking at what may be, in my opinion, Linkara's most successful art project, and it's still shit. Okay? Let's have a look at his analog horror.
Dude, when you sent me this video and I saw it was like an hour plus long, I went, not watching that. I'll just wait for later for Beckett to explain it to me.
So, it's called Winter of '83. It is a love letter-ish to analog horror.
Okay.
It's not very good.
The comments kind of like let it off that this is a parody. Is it a parody or not really?
Okay. So, the theme of this is parody-ish. The problems with it go beyond that. So,
Okay.
you can, like, the theme of it is kind of jokey in some respects. Oh, God, what's a good way to put this? You know when a parody is, like, trying... I need to find the right phrasing. It's really difficult to explain the problem with this. So, the Winter of '83 is about evil, psychotic, murderous Snow. That's what it is. The problem is, analog horror itself is so fucking ridiculous sometimes that it doesn't actually come off as a parody, because it is completely reasonable to believe that somebody would make an analog horror about demon-possessed Snow.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually something somebody would make.
That does sound like something somebody would make. I mean, we got stuff about like mall statues coming to life.
Yeah, God, there's
so much.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit. The problem with Winter of '83 is it fundamentally misunderstands and mishandles some of the core parts of analog horror, and the problem is in the production. So, for example, if you scroll through, in fact, give me a sec. Let me just grab the link for it. We'll go to around 1742, because this actually needs dissecting as to why it doesn't work.
City Council. We have a lot of business to go over today, so I suppose we should just get right to it. The most urgent matter, of course, is the blizzard that's going to hit our fine little city and the rest of the western part of the state. The current weather forecast says we'll have heavy snowfall tonight, a lull in the storm in the afternoon tomorrow for a couple hours, but then we're going to get hit with another 10 inches of snow. Now, we've put in a request to Minneapolis to send us some additional snowplows, but they haven't gotten back to us yet. In case they don't send them, let's get the word out to people to stay calm and not start hoarding food from the supermarket shelves.
The mayor seems calm and confident that they will make it through the blizzard, but has put the word out to Minneapolis to send some additional snow plows to aid them in the storm. As one of the...
Okay. So, thinking back to Lightbringer and just watching that short section of the mayor talking, which is stock footage or like a fucking council meeting that they've just talked to her, what do you think the instant problem with Winter of 83 is?
It's too expository.
Yes! That's why it fails as a parody, because Linkara tried to make this as a parody, I believe, because it was like, oh, Killer Snow, that would be funny. But the problem is that Linkara's ego doesn't allow him to shut the fuck up. And there are some actually genuinely good bits of Winter of 83 when no one is talking. But Linkara constantly is inserting dialogue because he has no faith in being able to visually tell a story. Which comes back to like a very core problem with That Guy with the Glasses creators generally. For critics, they fundamentally don't understand show, don't tell. And all the way through this, that's exactly what you get constantly. It is just fucking annoying. And if Linkara could shut up for a second, this is my critique of Linkara as a human being. If Linkara could shut up for like 5 minutes, he would make good content. But he can't. He's incapable of it.
Well, like when you write all these reviews of things and your entire career is based around, I mean, literally, he creates synopsises of plots for comics all the time. Of course, his writing is going to be expository. He doesn't spend enough time practicing the other fundamentals to like get good at it, and that's very clear because his fictional plots in his videos are also very fucking confusing.
They're fucking they're a hammer throw. But it's also like analog horror is like a medium where you leave clues and you kind of leave it up to the audience to figure out what the fuck is going on and why things are happening. Liminal Land's a great example of this, where like what is actually like Liminal Land has an answer to its story, and it is like, but you have to dig deeper than just what you're shown. You have to dig into like actual mythology to understand like the symbolic references, why certain things are happening. There's like a particular philosophy that's actually quite important to Liminal Land, so you can understand it. And that's what the community rallies around. Linkara doesn't understand that, so this entire series just explains exactly what's happening. And it takes all the mystery out. And like, you can do a parody about like Murder Snow, whatever. But the problem with it isn't that it's a parody. The problem with it is that it's not good, you know? And what's frustrating is that there are bits of this which are very good. Like when he's got people walking in the snow, almost if you turn the sound off, if you remove the talking, it becomes good. I'm trying to think. Go to 831 and press play.
These historical paintings, though, like an abandoned car in the snow, the Fawn Circle logo, blood in the snow, and even what appears to be a corpse.
This is a guy. Wait, so the series is like a guy reviewing.
No. That's somebody reviewing it. I sent you the wrong video.
All right.
I knew that'd be a shoot. Go forward a little bit.
Look, we need help down here. Please send somebody to rescue us.
It still looks like a fucking that guy with the glasses crossover movie.
Exactly.
Oh god. Yeah, you can't even do the like analog horror look, right? Like it looks like digital with with like a fucking VHS filter over it.
God, yeah, no, it's such a fucking mess, bro. But I think, yeah, that's sort of like the basis synopsis of Linkara, unless there's anything else you want to go over.
You know, man, okay. I think, you know, the Lightbringer thing is basically what he's known for, right? And for people that don't know, this got popularized by a bunch of guys called Oni Plays, which is the Smiling Friends crew and a few others, right? So they had taken like this weird fascination with Nostalgia Critic and that guy with the glasses and basically that whole realm of the internet. And what brought Linkara back into the zeitgeist, I mean, he's not even really in the zeitgeist, he's like a gag. And there's so much more, I honestly, like, this is that guy with the glasses crossover movies and so much incredible, like, cringe out there, right? It's only cringe in the fact that it's like it came from a different time on the internet that hasn't aged particularly well. But they found Lightbringer and they basically cannot get enough of it. They also made jokes about Doug Walker, rightfully so, and it's really funny because Doug is actually really appreciative of the jokes that are made about him.
He's definitely got better about it. He has definitely got better about it. You got to remember, it was only a few years ago that he reviewed The Wall by Pink Floyd, and made it about being bullied on Twitter.
Yeah.
He had Corey Taylor in that, and Corey Taylor sang one song.
For those of you that don't know, Corey Taylor's Slipknot. So
I feel old and I hate it.
I knew you were gonna say that. But yeah, so like where Doug is like, I think the impression's spot on. I think it's great. Linkara's like molding, and he's like, these guys talk about my old comic that's shit, and they make fun of me, and it's not nice. It's not nice.
Not nice. It's much bullying. Yeah, no, I mean his Discord, as I say, is locked down. It's a fucking hug box.
Listen, if I was Linkara, I'd be mad too, because Linkara, as you all know, went to a Trump rally and Doug Walker was there, and then Trump said, "Linkara, that guy, I love that guy. He's a great guy. Great work ethic on Power Rangers." And then when Linkara showed up, Trump said, "Get that guy, beat the shit out of him." And then they took Linkara's jacket. That's why he hasn't been better since.
Is that aneurysm going okay for you, buddy? You good?
No, that's what happened. That's what happened.
I know that's what's happened. So I'm just checking that you're not having a nervous breakdown explaining it.
No, I'm not. I'm doing my Trump impression. It's not good. I know it's not good. It's okay. I can do a lot of voices. I just can't do that one. Don't laugh, Becca. You do the same voice for everything. You do like a vaguely Eastern European, okay? Okay, Beckett and I are both DMs for things,
that is so
guys.
True.
Okay, and every time Beckett has
girl.
like a group...
I do a great Valley Girl.
Okay, do it right now.
I don't want to.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Now I put you
on
the
spot now. Yeah, no, it's listen, it's hard.
Here, I'll do a Valley Girl. Oh my god. Like Linkara really likes Futanari, and honestly, that's kind of fetch.
Never thought I'd hear you say the word fetch. That's fucked up, huh?
Diesel, stop trying to make fetch happen. Fetch isn't gonna happen. I've gotten better at that one.
Yeah, no, you're definitely getting better at that one.
So, where can people find you?
You can find me at Cope and Seethe on YouTube, and you can find me inside your walls.
And you can find me at Diesel IRL streaming weekly and at FPS Diesel whenever I upload, I guess. And make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for Internet Explorers, or, check us out on Spotify or iTunes. Bye.
Bye.